Greetings, this is brother teacher Ajamu Minka Kafele. My fight for justice is worth dying for, and I bring to you the first edition of Brother Teacher Speaks. Today we're going to talk about should black people call themselves Hebrew-Israelites. I want to start out by saying that any information presented here is presented to the best of my knowledge and understanding and divine insight. If anything I presented is inaccurate, it does not negate the rest of the things that are accurate. We also will make references to Wikipedia. We know that Wikipedia has credible references, and we know that Wikipedia does not have credible references. It's sort of like anything else on the internet. You have legitimate news and fake news, so do not try to denounce Wikipedia. The whole point of this presentation is to give you a point of reference and along with the information in order for you to be able to elevate your consciousness, elevate your knowledge, and grow your wisdom and enhance your understanding. I endeavor to provide you knowledge and understanding to go forth and be wiser in your ways. So let's talk about it. Should black people call themselves Hebrew Israelites? We start out by looking at exactly what is a Hebrew and Israelite and Jews per the Hebrew Bible, because they're not necessarily the same thing. Israelites refers specifically to the direct descendants of any of the sons of Jacob and his descendants as a people, which are collectively called Israel, and any converts to the faith. So it's the direct descendants of the sons of Jacob. Hebrews, on the contrary, is used to denote the Israelites' immediate forebears, the forebears of Jacob, who dwelt in the land of Canaan, along with the Israelites themselves and the Israelites' ancient modern descendants. But it includes the forebears. Jews is used to denote the descendants of the Israelites who coalesce, merge with the tribe of Judah, absorb the remnants of various other Israelite tribes. It's very interesting about that the tribe of Judah is separate from Jews. So I guess Jews are not from Judah. Just a thought, but that's not our topic today. Abraham was a Hebrew, but he was not technically an Israelite nor a Jew, and Abraham is supposed to be the father of it all. So we understand these terms and information. We need to delve further. Hebrew, where did it come from? Abraham is in the Bible is mentioned one time as Hebrew, but the term Hebrew almost always occurs in the Hebrew Bible as a name given to Israelite by other people rather than one that was used by themselves. So somebody else called these people called Israelites Hebrews, according to their information. It's not who they called themselves, but supposedly some would say that we're Hebrews. The origins of the term Hebrew itself are uncertain. Nobody knows where it came from. We just know who supposedly some people are that are now being called Hebrew, but we don't really know where Hebrew, the word itself, came from, because they certainly didn't call themselves that. So they gave it a meaning, I guess, in terms of circumstantial evidence, though they didn't know where the term originated from. So Hebrew means from the other side, referring to the other side of the Euphrates River primarily. Some may say the Jordan River, but you cross over the Jordan River, then you have to cross over the Euphrates River. Ladies and gentlemen, when you say the other side of the Euphrates River, you're talking about now getting into the Caucasus Mountain region, the base of that area. And we'll prove that in a moment. So is Abraham from the Caucasus Mountains? Where is Abraham from? They say Abraham is from southern Mesopotamia. But let's look at what the Bible has to say about this story, because that's where the whole story comes from, right? Terah, father of Abraham, took his son and Lot, the son of Haran, and they left the Ur of Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. They didn't even make it. Now, the interesting thing, and I bet you've never heard this, ladies and gentlemen, never explained this in Sunday school. Abraham was from the city of Ur, according to Genesis 11:31. The problem is there are several places called Ur. It is mostly translated as Ur of Chaldeans. The problem with Chaldeans is that it is a late word used in Neo-Babylonian times. It is either anachronistic, which means it's out of place, or poor translation. It goes on to say here, this is from accuracyingenesis.com. They did a very good job of laying this out. There are two cities not far from Haran, Urfar. Local tradition says that Abraham was born in Urfar. Northern Ur is mentioned in the tablets of Ugarit, Nuzi, Ibla, which refers to Uri, and Urau. What I mean? Looking on this map here, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mesopotamia. Okay? They try to say that Abraham was down here in southern Mesopotamia. The problem is the whole story is from a book in the Bible that says Abraham is from northern Mesopotamia up here in Ur. Well, let's look a little bit deeper, because Genesis 24:4 says when Abraham is talking to his servant, you must go back to the country where I was born to get a wife for his son Isaac. The country where I was born. The servant gathers Abraham's property, and he goes to a city in northern Mesopotamia, Aram Naharaim. This is north, not south. The city where I was born, north, not south. And when you look deeper to further support this, because this is, again, the Caucasus Mountain regions, Caucasus, all this is like the base of this area right here, okay? Mount Ararat, that's actually the mount, but this whole region was also referred to as Ararat. You know, Ararat is where they say that Noah's Ark landed. So you go from Noah's Ark and on down to Abraham, you're talking about the Caucasus Mountain region. And there was a kingdom in there, there was an area in there, whatever you want to call it, called Urartu. So if you have a kingdom called Urartu, it's very likely you could have some places called Urau. So whoever made up the southern Mesopotamia thing, maybe there were some people that came out of here because they did come out of the Caucasus Mountain. We know white people agree, they acknowledged they were in the caves and hills of Europe. That's why they're called Caucasians. Somebody came out and civilized them. It would have been black people. It was about the only other people around. There were the only other people around. Came out and civilized them. So it's very likely that maybe some of the Urs, whatever, came down and settled in southern Mesopotamia. But the Bible is telling you that Abraham is from the Caucasus Mountain region. And if he's the father of the Hebrews, it does raise a question, was Abraham a Caucasian? I don't know. Maybe so, maybe yes, maybe mixed. I don't know, because black people was one up in there. Because it doesn't really quite say that Abraham is a Hebrew. Okay. He didn't really so much dwell there. Okay. He kind of dwelled here and then moved into there. You know, it's kind of a play on words, but that's what happened. I also want to point one thing out real quick. This is not our subject today, but, you know, a lot of people a lot of Hebrew-Israelites folks will try to tell you, and I'm not knocking and downing Hebrew-Israelites. I'm discussing the subject of whether we are Hebrew-Israelites. I think a lot of information they present is very good and accurate and can be referenced to use for some good things. Of course, that's not always the case. Haran is where the moon god Sin was worshipped here. So when someone tries to say that Allah, Christians, Hebrew Israelites say that Allah is the moon god, they don't have their actual facts together. If you go look up Sin, the moon god, which is a very interesting name, moon god, Sin, apparition to God, supreme being, is worship here. So we'll leave that for another time, just pointing out who the moon god really is. So let's be clear on the journey here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Urfa where the Bible says that Abraham was born where he came from, or Earth, Caucasus Mountain region, where Noah's Ark, it said the land with the whole story. I mean, it's all a biblical story, okay? And so it makes sense that when his father left, comes out of Ur, came into Haran, settled there. Then you get the rest of the journey, okay? And however it happened, they ended up in these holy lands, in this Garden of Eden. Great things happen. This whole Phoenician region, and the Phoenicians are black, okay? But I want to point something out to you, that this Judah, this area where they supposedly settled up, when you talk about the fact that the Hebrew was a name that was assigned to them, it wasn't something that they chose for themselves. It wasn't something that they called themselves. We don't know what they called themselves, but it wasn't something that they called themselves. So it means they were known as foreigners. They were known as different. Someone else called them there. So interestingly, Judah is in an area here that is not the best of lands. Okay. So as you get into the back end here towards the Dead Sea, this is a rugged area. This is wildlife area. Now, as you get closer to the Mediterranean Sea, it's good agricultural land. But this wasn't the best area. I almost like to say, like was this the first ghetto according to the Bible? Because they took these people coming out of the Caucasus Mountains, that's where they were from, and they settled them over here, not in the best area of this holy land, of this Garden of Eden, if you will. That's that. Are Hebrew-Israelites in their Exodus a make-believe story? Well, let's look at this, because this is important. Because you're telling me that I'm a Hebrew. You're telling me I'm not black. You're telling me I'm not African. You're telling me I am what the Bible says I am. And the Bible is a revised book. It's not the original Holy Script. The original Holy Script, matter of fact, it tells you that translated out of the original tongues and revised. Well, what was the original tongue? What was the original script? And what is the revised portion? So in the book, what did the biblical writers know and when did they know it? Archaeologists, after a century of exhaustive investigation, ladies and gentlemen, they have concluded that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the whole thing has no credible history. The archaeological evidence does not support the historical accuracy of the biblical story. The story was not intended to be understood as history in the modern sense. It never happened. It never occurred, at least not as they're explaining it and made us to believe, make believe. There could have been some events, there could have been some things that have occurred, but not as they have presented it. Its substance and accuracy and dates are obscured by centuries of transmission. In other words, what is the real deal? We really don't know, and we can't find anything to actually support these people who existed to give it any credibility. Ain't that something? But you're telling me I'm Hebrew according to Abraham. One other thing I want to say is it doesn't mean that Abraham didn't exist. He could have existed, but when you get people in power that don't like you, they can write you out of history. We see that going on now with the Trump presidency. He's trying to write things out of history that Obama did. Trying to get rid of the healthcare as if he never existed. So it's possible these people exist. It's more likely that they existed and that the stories just aren't what they've been made out to be. In the revised book, in addition, they tied in some historical events with prophecy. Okay. But we don't have anything to support that they did exist. And so if somebody wants to go along with that, they certainly have a right to go along with that. That will be their factual evidence. But I think the more credible thing of it all to support that we're not Hebrews is that you can't support the existence of Hebrew as a language. The Phoenician alphabet is the oldest verified alphabet. The Phoenician alphabet is derived from the Egyptian hieroglyphs. So I beg to differ that it is the oldest verified alphabet. The Egyptian hieroglyphs would be the oldest verified alphabet. But they don't want to give credit to the Egyptians. Nonetheless, the Phoenicians were black people. So talk much about the Phoenicians and you try to just say Phoenicians. Well, these were black people. Paleo-Hebrew alphabet is a local variant of the Phoenician alphabet script. It's a variant. Variant would be like you say tomato, I say tomato. It's a variant. It's the same thing. Let's look. Here's the Phoenician alphabet. Here is Paleo-Hebrew. Looked like somebody doing some serious copying there. And there was one Jewish person that I read that tried to say that you can't say that Paleo-Hebrew is taken from the Phoenician alphabet. Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Because it is. All right. We go on. Modern Hebrew. That's the whole thing now. Modern Hebrew is a script. Modern Hebrew script is a stylistic variant of the Aramaic script. It's a variant. We discussed that. Stylistic is font change. Font change. If you go from print to cursive, that's a font change. If you go from Arial to elephant font, that's a font change in modern terms. And so you look at the Aramaic alphabet, you see the font change and you see some various similarities. Some things look a little bit different, but it's an actual fact that they got it from the Aramaic script. So the Hebrew language and alphabet is actually in a lie. It's Aramaic. Let's further look at the proof of this and wonder how you could come up with identifying a people as Hebrew. Look at the dates. We have the Exodus here, 1313 BCE. So that's 2019 plus 1313. This is the Exodus. These are the so-called Hebrews, right? From the Israelites. However that story goes in detail. But the crazy thing is, Paleo-Hebrew comes along around 800 BCE. Well, we know that Paleo-Hebrew is what? Phoenician. We know that Phoenician comes from the hieroglyphs. We know that the ancient Egyptians, the real ancient Egyptians, were black, not the Ptolemies. Okay, the white ones that came in there and took over at the end. Okay, not the Hittites that came in there before that and then were reconquered by blacks, and then the Ptolemies came in. Once you go past the Hittites, it's all black. It's all black. We then go on. Modern Hebrew. We're looking at a timeline here, ladies and gentlemen. During the 3rd century BCE, Jews began to use a stylized square form of the Aramaic alphabet that was used by the Persian Empire. This is, goes on here to say, they began to use this by completely after 330 BCE. That would be 2019 plus 330. We're at a 1,000-year difference here between modern Hebrew and the Exodus. I don't understand how these people could be called Hebrews. They didn't call themselves that. This is a concocted language of Aramaic. What were they called by under Aramaic would be a better term. What were they called under Phoenician would be a better understanding. It just looks like somebody's trying to hide something under a concocted thing called a language called Hebrew. And so therefore to call ourselves literally Hebrews, I mean, it just reminds me of us calling us Negro. I mean, that's just what it does. We're not Negroes. Somebody gave us that term. Somebody made that up. So let's look at Israel. Is Jacob, Israel, and his seed actually an enemy of God, supreme being, creator, and his chosen people? This is a legitimate question. These are some facts that people don't want to deal with. Now, let me clarify something for you. When I say God, supreme being, creator, I'm talking about the same person. You say God. Some of you say Yahweh. Some of you say Allah. I say Allah. I just make the distinction because it says that ye are all gods of the Most High God. And so I just make this distinction by saying supreme being, creator. Some people say creator. So I just don't want you to get confused there and think it's something different. Okay, I'm just making a distinction because we are gods and then there's God, supreme being. So Israel is he that striveth with God. I didn't say strive as in we rolling along together. It's striveth, meaning he fought, he contended with God. I want you to think about this. I want you to really think this over and think about any righteous man, any prophet, any good person of God that you know. that was blessed, that turned their life around, fought with God to get blessed. I don't recall, maybe somebody can, I don't recall any stories. Certainly there's not a plethora of them, of these prophets, these righteous men of old being blessed by getting into a fight and saying, I won't let you go until you bless me. As if it wasn't for you. And of course it wasn't for you, because that's what Jacob means. Jacob means one that takes by the heel, a supplanter. A supplanter is one that takes the place of another. Jacob wasn't supposed to get the blessing. He stole it. So when we say take by the heel, we can say take by steal. We can say take by kill. This all just reminds me of when Hillary Clinton said, called black kids super predators, and said we need to bring them to heel. Kill them, imprison them. We don't care. We just can't let them come to be. We can't let them get blessed and raise up to be good people. We can't change them around. We want to bring them to heel. We want to crush them. So when you say I'm an Israelite, you're putting me in opposition to God. See, you have to understand that the story goes that Jesus, Esau, came to redeem the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He didn't come to redeem Israel. It wasn't until later he said, well, you know, some of the Israels, if you will, Israelites could be blessed as well. But that was afterwards. He came specifically to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, if you turn your life around, you get righteous as an Israelite, then you could be blessed. But you start out as an enemy of God. A lot of people also confused with, well, we're Hebrew Israelites because it says the children of Israel. But I contend to you, ladies and gentlemen, that if I take your child and I give your child a specific name as a baby, I rear your child, I raise your child in his customs, his ways, his traditions, his norms, his diet, in the way that I want him to be raised. And then I begin to call your child little Negro, little nigger boy, little colored one. And he knows nothing else but me. He's going to see me and know me as his daddy. But the fact of the matter is, he's not my child. He's an adopted child. He's a stepchild. And so in the Bible, when it's talking about the children of Jacob, the children of Israel, it doesn't equate to a biological connection. It's a prophetic story. And so we perceive ourselves to be the children of Jacob and Israel because we don't have a knowledge and understanding that this is our stepdaddy that came through the path of striving with God, that he's a supplanter. So I think when you don't have that part right, understanding who the children of Israel are and their connection not being biological but more stepchildish, then it throws everything off. But nonetheless, Jacob, Israel, seems like an enemy to God to me. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, should black people call themselves Hebrew Israelites? Yes, if you want to make reference to the allegorical prophetic story of the Bible, but only Hebrews, the lost sheep. And I do believe that there are many in the Hebrew Israelite ideology that clearly is their reference point. Where the challenge is when you say, well, we Hebrews, we're not black, we're not African, we're not anything else, but it's okay for us to be Hebrews from a language that is concocted and made up, okay? But we can't be African. We can't be ancient Egyptians. But then Hebrew in and of itself is made up. No one knows anything about it, really. Okay? As to Israelite, that's an absolute, just flat out no. That's an opposition to God. There's a lot of mixed up understanding there. Like you have knowledge, but you don't have understanding. It says in all thy get understanding. And so if you have knowledge and you don't have understanding, you can have confusion. And I think this is made plain in the Bible where it says in Amos 6:8, the Lord God hath sworn by himself, saith the Lord, the God of hosts, I abhor the excellency of Jacob. That's not I adore. That's I abhor. I hate the pride, the ways of Jacob, is what that means. I hate his palaces. I hate his institutions. I hate his civilization. And we want to make a note here that God, it does say that God hates. So people like say God is love. I'm just pointing out it is God hates. I hate his palaces, his places, his things, and therefore I will deliver up the city with all that is therein. So we came to get the lost sheep out, any of the people that would be righteous out, because I'm about to condemn that city. I'm about to give it hell. I'm about to destroy it. So I'm not going to be an Israelite by any stretch of the imagination. But when you add it all up, ladies and gentlemen, it's just a simply no. When you deal with the truth and the actual facts that we have and the knowledge and understanding that is out there, if one accepts the documented actual facts of history, there's no such people by the name of Hebrew that existed. No one knows where the word Hebrew came from or who is the original parent of a Hebrew nation of people. They just assigned it to them. They try to say there's an Egyptian word, kaheribu, that may apply to them, but the whole problem is there's no archaeological evidence to support the existence of such people at all. So you can come up with whatever you want, but then when you tie into the fact that additionally and most importantly that the Hebrew so-called language is a misnomer, it's actually Aramaic by way of Phoenician and the hieroglyphs, then we got to ask the question about what was the original tongue and what was it before it was revised, because it wasn't Hebrew. So if you try to say that Hebrew is the original holy language and all of that type of stuff, it doesn't fit the actual facts. And so whatever your belief is about God in the Bible, that's okay, but it should be backed up. Some circumstantial evidence of substance that should support what your God belief is in order to ascertain what is truth. If not, belief, by definition, operation is a state of unknown. You want to move from belief to truth. To get to the truth, truth is revealed to the seeker of knowledge. And this is brother teacher Ajamu Minka Kafele, seeking to give you truth and knowledge to enhance your understanding. I love you if you're righteous, can't stand you if you ain't. Thanks for taking the time to look at this. And until the next time, Brother Teacher Speaks video, we hope you take this information and elevate yourself to a higher level in oneness with God's supreme being. Have a great one. Peace.